Okay, hello everybody. Thanks for being here. So, um, to just go over the basics of these open monthly council meetings, they're open to all members in good standing. This is a working council meeting, so we are following a tight agenda, but comments and chats from membership are open and will be visited during the open forum time at the end of the meeting. And the open forum time is for everyone to make their comments. There might be limitations on how much time everyone can talk based on how much time it takes to get through the agenda. But of course, questions are always welcomed and can be submitted to the council email, which is council@kingstonfoodcoop.com. And lastly, we end our open council meetings with an executive session, which is closed to just the council and is used to discuss any sensitive topics that might have come up in the past month. So getting into the agenda, we're going to start with our co-op updates, including membership numbers, upcoming events, and I believe that will be shared by our outreach coordinator, Siobhan.
Thanks, Kendall. Hi, everyone. To start with our membership count, we have 1,231 members in our co-op and 211 solidarity members within that total amount. And exciting news to share, we are going to be partnering with Mass Design Group to design our co-op building. MASS stands for Model of Architecture Serving Society. And if some of you guys remember last fall, we had a series of architect presentations from a few different firms, and we had several rounds of feedback from our members and our community, and you guys selected MASS. So we're so excited that we are going to be entering our community building design phase with our co-op. And so we're at the very, very early stages. We're technically in the pre-design phase. Our community integration committee just met with MASS last week, and we are figuring out ways that we can get more community feedback and integrate you guys building design ideas and programming ideas, and just like more influence from our members and community to shape our building design as we move forward in that part. So stay tuned for updates on how you can get involved, and we'll keep you guys updated as we continue to work with MASS to reach you and get your ideas and make sure that those are woven into our building design. And so I'm super excited. I really am happy that we're going with MASS, and I hope you guys are too. So again, stay tuned for that. This is like the fun part of designing our building, and we want as much engagement and involvement as possible with our members and our community. And yeah, so thanks for passing that to me, Kendall, and I'll pass it back to you. And I guess I'll just say before I pass it back that, yeah, we will be having more events and opportunities to do like hands-on design stuff. So when we have more details about that, we will definitely let you guys know so you can get involved. And passing it back to you, Kendall.
Thank you, Siobhan, for sharing that exciting news. And now we're going to do our financial report from our treasurer, which is Ali.
Yeah, sure. Just before we start this, Siobhan is curious on the, well, this is great news, super great news. Curious on the memberships. Has there been a trend of memberships increasing generally, or has been sort of flat? And also for the solidarity shares, do you have that?
So our membership, let me just pull it up. We haven't had a ton of membership growth. We did get some new members at our summer party and a few pending members, which is like people who, yeah, are in the process of becoming members. But it looks like this month, I'm sorry, I'm looking for the right column in Airtable and it's just taking me a second to find it. Oh. it looks like this month, we've had it looks like we had 4 members in June, 2 in July so far, just 2 in May. So about 10 members in the last 2 months. So yeah, it's kind of been, yeah, not a ton of growth, and only 1 solidarity member out of that, out of those 10 that have joined since May.
Thanks for that update. It's good to know.
Ali, before you do the financial report, I'm wondering if I could just, I just want to acknowledge that Siobhan had mentioned the summer party and a few new members came in through that. And I just wanted to acknowledge how fun that was for the community. And thank you for all your hard work, Siobhan, in putting that together. From all the accounts that I heard, it was a smashing success.
Thank you, and thanks to all the members watching that were able to come. It was really nice to meet face to face and meet new people who are excited to join and excited to get involved. So thanks.
Great. So on the finance committee, since last month, this is the first month that we're working since Katie's departure. So there's been a transition with working with the bookkeeper, working with Sonia Narvaez, that is the consultant that has been brought on to support during this transition. So there's been a lot of identifying gaps, identifying new opportunities, and identifying areas that can, I guess those two, gaps and opportunities for finance and plans. That being said, we last few weeks we got a new grant allotment from GWI, which is a fiscal sponsor, and met with Caitlin today just to get to know a little bit more of the transition, have a face-to-face, as I'll be the person that's at the moment handling that relationship of dealing with grant requests and making sure that things are sent in a timely order and fashion. So that's like from a fiscal sponsorship update, and met with Sonia, the key QPL consultant, to figure out this like planning strategy sessions along with Christine, our bookkeeper, again, to identify these gaps and also opportunities that we could work in the future. And an exciting thing, part of the learning zone or learning space for co-op members in general, this past month, we activated a new feature within our bookkeeping software to allow trainings where each council member can engage in trainings to become more knowledgeable in financial reading and structures. So that's an exciting part that, again, is part of this build out of how to make finances a bit more very part of the council day-to-day work. And goals for next month, I would say is, yeah, we're building certain like greater clarity on budgeting and tracking as part of this opportunity space visioning that happening with the consultant along with our bookkeeper and the finance committee and the council in general. And yeah, that's pretty much a big thing. Numbers, checking account currently around 90K that we have, member equity around 180K that is on member equity, and we have a grant reserve held by our fiscal sponsor of about 500K. Roughly, those are the numbers, and well, not roughly, those are the numbers. And yeah, I'm here to answer any questions or comments. Let's see, Lindsay, you have your hand.
Yes, I have a question about the QuickBooks trainings. I did get the links you sent about how to sign up for the trainings, but then I wasn't sure if there were, of those trainings, were there any that you recommend that we take? You don't have to answer this now, but maybe that's something you can like throw in our Slack channel about what would be the most applicable training, since I saw that there were like 6 to 10 of them, and obviously we don't have time to do all of those. So let us know what one you think we should take, or 1 or 2. Or
Okay.
whatever.
I'll take my just straight off is all, right? Let's build time to get that. But yeah, I could make a top 3 or top 5 suggested trainings to look into. On trainings, last thing on my side, an exciting part of the finance is I was part of a training with ABC Cooperative this week that falls in line with this vision of creating a more robust, grounded clarity financials called budgeting with values. And that's something I also plan to roll out with the support of Sonia and the finance committee and the bookkeeper to, again, build out that finance committee so that people can come in, come out in a good way. That's all I got for that. And again, happy to answer any questions from council members or fellow members on the call.
Okay, thank you, Ali. And yeah, if anybody has any questions that is watching, feel free to reach out to the council email, council@kingstonfoodcoop.com. And now we have our council committee updates. So I believe we will be sharing the screen or just
Maybe not. Let's just do it. Let's do it from our faces.
from our face. Okay, so I'll just go down from the top, starting with governance. This is you, Lindsay.
Yeah, okay. So we do have a little bit of business to do from the governance committee tonight, and that is the re-election of our council officers. Per our bylaws, the council officers are elected every year within 1 month of seating the new council, which happens in June. So, and it's done by secret ballot. So we use the Simply Voting platform, which is the same platform that we use for our general election, to do our little council-wide elections. So I just need for us to ratify the results here. And that is that everyone was reelected to their existing positions, which is kind of what we wanted in terms of continuity. So I'm personally am glad that worked out. But if anyone has, I think it's easier to just like, I don't know what the official way of ratification is. So I guess I just need the count all the members of the council just to accept that these results are valid. Okay. Anyone concerned that the results are not valid and need to be examined closer? Okay, let's call it. I think that we will continue business as usual in the positions we are in currently.
Yeah, and Lindsay, on that,
yes.
Was there anything interesting that stuck out or just noteworthy that came out during that process? One, and also second, I know that there is work from the governance committee. Nina has been working on this together to make certain amendments to the bylaws so that next year there's changes with the next year officer voting. Is the plan or to coincide with those?
Well, I can talk. I've got a few more things to report on, but just in terms of the first part of your question is about what interesting came out of the officers thing. And I think one of the things that we noticed, because this was sort of like, every year as we're doing this, we're 3 years into having an elected council in this project. And so every year we learn a little bit more. And I think that what we're learning now is that as we get a little bit more sort of official and a little less of a like, let's start a co-op, y'all, and a little more of like, oh, we are really creating like a multi-million-dollar business that is community owned here. Like there's been this sort of shift. And so I think as that shift continues, we realize that our officer descriptions, like the accountabilities of them, need to be a little clearer. So on that vein, some of the work that the governance committee is doing is we're working with Sonia, our operations consultant, in creating a decision-making tree and a like responsibilities outline so that we know where different accountabilities lie within the whole council organization, within the committee structure that we're using now, which is, you know, a relatively new structure. And I think that will help streamline things, like decisions can be made a little bit faster because we won't necessarily have to get council-wide approval for every single decision. Some things can be made within committees and some things can even be made within just the chair of the committee. So that's some of the work that we're doing in governance right now. We're also, as you mentioned, continuing to look at our bylaws. I know that I've mentioned this a couple months in a row, so like now it's getting a little redundant, but it's actually a pretty big lift to be doing in amongst all the other governance we are working on, just in terms of moving the project forward on a monthly basis. But we are looking at our bylaws, and there's a couple sections of them that didn't serve us in terms of when we want to activate our worker class. When the store opens and we have a staff and want them to be worker owners, which was a sort of founding principle of the corporation. So, but we didn't have the bylaws to back that up. So Nina and I have been working with some experts in the fields, and Nina has a lot of experience and contacts in her world with this. So that's coming along. We're almost done with that project, and that will have to go to a community, like the entire membership is going to have to vote on the bylaws change. That's not something that we can do per our existing bylaws. That's not something we can do on the council level, and that won't change in the new bylaws either. There's just certain sections that are changing to just make them more robust. And let's see. So we worked on that, the worker owner share price and the patronage split. And then because it was just the end of the quarter, this month was the last month of the quarter, we sort of looked at what were our Q2 goals, and did we feel that we accomplished them, and how are we moving forward for Q3? And in Q3, we want to finish this bylaw revision that we've been working on for like 5 months now. We have our policy register like at least 80% done, and that's sort of like the documents by which we will govern and then also manage our leadership structure of the store. So we need to refine that. It's almost done. We want to start working on gathering information for a member owner handbook. And as I said, like we're finishing up that decision-making tree. And we're also looking at the possibility of doing some sort of compensation structure for members that do committee work sort of above and beyond like a regular volunteer kind of thing, like any members that are working on committees at sort of a higher level, if we can do some compensation for them. So we've just sort of started the process of examining that, and we'll see what comes out with that. So that's the governance update. Any questions on that?
I believe you're also the nominations subcommittee update.
Oh, geez. Okay. Yes, you are correct. So that doesn't really have an update. No nominees have been brought to the attention of the nomination subcommittee in this past month, but we are working to sort of incorporate leadership cultivation into every committee. So instead of it just being a nominations focus, everyone on the CIC, everyone in the store leadership, we'll be sort of looking at who are the members that are coming forward to work, and is there leadership, can we cultivate that leadership potential to have them run for council seats or be nominated for council seats. So we're looking to sort of spread out that responsibility a little bit. So that's my update for that.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. So I will do the update for Community Integration Committee. So work since the last report, we set our goals for this quarter as well for Q3. We are working on the logistics of the committee as a whole. Myself as the chair, council president, and Sonia as our operations consultant have been working on a way to possibly restructure the committee and make it as effective as possible in supporting Siobhan, our outreach coordinator, and also just supporting the work of the council as a whole and getting the community more engaged. a same note, we had a meeting with Mass to get acquainted, for them to learn a little bit more about the outreach efforts that we've put into place already. And then, so moving into what we're looking forward to in this month is working with Mass to develop strategies for community input during this pre-design phase, because we want to make sure that every step of the way that we are hearing from the community and doing what is actually desired and preferable for the Kingston community and for our membership. So we are working on the most creative ways to do that, and creative ways to make sure that we're hearing everybody's voices and not just the loudest ones. So it takes a little bit of brainstorming. And we're also still looking at the member ambassador program, which Siobhan made a proposal for a while back, and we haven't actually gotten deep into yet. So we're hoping to be able to really get into that so we can start actually activating some of our members who are looking to get involved. And hopefully that'll be a really awesome way to do that, especially during the pre-design phase. So in terms of expenses, there was, of course, the summer party, which is reported to have been $7,244.62. Big party. And the only other expense we have is $500 so that Siobhan, our outreach coordinator, can attend a social media workshop. So some professional development there. So that is everything. Yeah, and if there are any questions, we'll have them in the open forum, or you can email them. Any questions for me specifically, you can email me, Kendall@kingstonfoodco.com.
Wait, so
So-
you're not taking questions on this right now?
I mean, I think all questions are supposed to be reserved for the open forum, but
Okay.
when
Okay.
if there's something quick that you want me to clarify, I can do it now.
If they're for the open forum, I'll note them for that time.
Okay, so Business Development Committee, Kevius is not here, but is there someone else from the Business Development Committee who can do this report?
I can do this one. Yeah, Kivis is not here, but so he and the Business Development Committee have been working on creating an enhanced business plan and enhanced market study to move forward with. And one of the things that we have done is to communicate sort of where we are within the business plan to the architects so that they have a really clear idea of what purpose the building needs to serve in order to support the business that we want to create. So that's sort of been the main thrust of that work. And then we created a list of possible programs that we can then model out. And so that sort of moves into the next reporting period's goals, which are to sort of solidify some of these partnerships, conducting meetings and fleshing out how these partnerships could function. And then I think there's also going to be some collaborative work with the Community Integration Committee to enhance our market study to make it more inclusive of demographics that were excluded from the original market study that we had, what's it called? That we had solicited, that we had commissioned, that's the word, that we had originally commissioned. So that's sort of what's coming next. And I won't talk too much more about it because I'm not the chair of that committee.
Okay, thank you for stepping in. And Nina with Store Leadership Committee.
Yeah, so we have hit the ground running, which is really exciting. We had 7 non-council members join the committee. It's still shaking out, you know, how exactly how many people are going to play a very active role. But we have a lot of folks who have signed up for research responsibilities. So this past month, we have updated our work plan to create an extra month for research, which was just a little bit more realistic considering it took us a few more weeks than we had planned to recruit non-council members to join the committee. We have also scheduled a 3-part shared leadership workshop with facilitators from Co-op Hudson Valley and Good Work Institute. And so that'll be taking place in August for council members as well as non-council committee members. And so that's just one part of our research, because we're really just trying to explore all the different kinds of leadership models that have been tested in the food co-op space, as well as just in other kind of cooperative minded spaces, and see whether those can realistically translate to the setting of a small grocery store, a small cooperative grocery store. And then also just what other leadership models, leadership structures are out there. So we have a resource tracker. We're all using a spreadsheet to track what we're looking at. We've developed some common standards for what our informational interviews should cover. And folks are leads on different kind of like individuals or organizations or co-ops that we're reaching out to. So that's taking place over the next few weeks. We, in the coming reporting period, we're carrying out those scheduling and carrying out those informational interviews. We're continuing to identify new leads for research, and we will actually be participating in the three-part, we'll be participating in the first of the 3 parts of the shared leadership workshop. And then the following 2 sessions will take place in later August after our next meeting. So yeah, I think that kind of summarizes what we have been up to.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Nina. Next, we have capital project report. So, hello again, Lindsay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This one is really, capital projects have is really taken off in this past month, where it sort of was a somewhat latent committee up till now because we hadn't started our design process and there was really no movement forward on the redesign and build out of our building. So this month, capital projects has hit the ground running, to steal Nina's opening with leadership. We signed our sort of letter of agreement with Mass Design Group, as Siobhan said, and then we had our kickoff design meeting with all council, all staff, any committee members that were interested in participating. And we did a big presentation to Mass. Oh, and also our grocery planner and our grocery like design planner team was there as well. And so we presented to them what our project is, what our goals are for the building, why we think it's important to have a co-op in Kingston, why and how we need this building to function. And so we did this pretty like major download with them on that. And then Mass represented to us a version of the presentation they made last spring, which some of you I'm sure saw, and talked about how they envision, how they want to sort of envision a grocery store in Midtown and the importance of it and their holistic view of design. And it was really exciting because it reaffirmed to us how values aligned this firm is. They're local, their office is in Poughkeepsie, so they're not in Kingston, but this is like a global design firm that are so cutting edge. There's really, what they do is so unique in the architecture world. And so it was just really exciting to hear them present that and be reminded of what a great choice we made. And I'm so happy that we were able to make that with the membership on board and our building design committee that sort of shepherded us through that process as well. So that was really, really exciting. And then we ended that meeting with having a big brainstorm that Mass Design led. And it was a nice window into sort of like, how they might elicit feedback from the community and sort of the deep level on which they are thinking about this project. So yeah, so we're off and running. It is happening. We're designing this building, and there's going to be collaboration between Community Integration Committee and Mass in terms of the sort of community input design workshops coming up. So super excited about that. We have a design, capital projects oversight committee that meets every week. So we're really staying on top of that project, and we're meeting with Mass and the designers every week as well. And for the next month, we are going to expand that oversight, that governance structure of this project to include sort of a larger committee that probably will be mostly populated by experts that were on our building design committee that have a lot of experience in construction and architecture and oversight to help us sort of understand any technical technical business that's coming through that, you know, on the council, we don't have that level of expertise. So this will be like an advisory committee that will help us understand that and make decisions about money to spend and all that. So that's sort of, we're working on that governance structure in the next month. And we do have a need, like we have, you know, we keep talking about how we're updating the business plan and then the market study, and then that will update the pro forma, and the pro forma is what we'll sort of use to launch the business. But the designers also need that information that's in that pro forma, because that will, for the grocery designers, inform how the floor space is utilized, because it's their job to take our pro forma, which is like the roadmap of our business, and they will take that information and they will use that to design shelving space and departments and all of that. So we're sort of at a critical place right now where we really need those updated versions so that we can approve them as a council and we can pass them on to the designers. So I know that's something we've been like working on slowly over the past few months, and we kind of need to sort of like get that going. So that's my request from the capital project committee to the rest of the council, that we need to remember the importance of that and get on that. As for spending, we have some consultancy fees that we have paid out this month, $7,425 to SBW Consulting, and $1,470 to Firebrand Consulting. And that I think is money so well spent. I'm so grateful for Susan's help in all of this and understanding what we're doing and moving this project through. Any questions? Okay, I'm done.
Okay, and our final report will be finance from Ali. Ali,
I did the finance report in the beginning, unless was that
Oh.
finance?
True. Okay. So that's all for our reports then. And I'm not sure if there's any other or new business. Don't think so. So we will move into our open forum. So we're open for questions.
Well, I'll start off. I have a list of questions that I was saving towards the end for each committee. Starting, maybe my expression, my face 10 seconds ago was like of shock because I just erased a chunk of questions and I can't get it back now. But Community Integration Committee, so two things there that came up on the party expenses. Are those generally, have you noticed that on a similar trend the past years? I think this is the second year that the summer party has happened.
Yeah, sorry, I've been here. I just have my camera off because I'm eating dinner. But yeah, last year I think we spent around like 6. This year it was 7, and I have a spreadsheet of the expenses, but the two largest ones were the tent rental. Well, tent, tables, and chairs was over $2,000, and a tablecloth as well, and the food was $2,036. So those are the two largest expenses. Also the ices, which I guess you could count as food, as well, were almost $1,500. So when you look at that, that's like 5,000 right there. The rest was paying the musicians, like the, oh my gosh, why can't I think? The plates, cutlery, napkins, servingware, the porta potty rental, reimbursements for some of the organizations that were there for expenses that they incurred for their activities. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Also drinking seltzer. But yeah, so it's pretty on par with what we spent last year. Also, like inflation, I feel like things are just more expensive now. So yeah, it was on par with last year's expenses, and the amount of people that we fed. We got rid of every single piece of food, which felt really, really good. Nothing went to waste. We didn't have to bring a ton of stuff to the community fridges. So we fed a lot of people. And yeah, I think it was money well spent.
Yeah, well, cool. Thanks for that breakdown. My thing was just to have an idea if it was on trend, and that's good to know that that's being like cataloged and considered. The other thing I had that sort of hits in with community integration and capital project, as I just heard from Lindsay's update, is so yeah, there's a timeline, right, that Mass wants to get things set or to continue the work that implies community integration, if not feedback, but just data, like the updated market study, right? I'm grasping that correctly? So the question to either both committees there is like, is there some sort of maybe concern or areas that of greater support that you've identified that is required from other council members or just outside to make sure that fits in with the timeline that, well, with the timeline. So that, yeah, that's, I guess that, how does that feel? Yeah, I guess a check-in, yeah.
Yeah, I think we definitely will need to activate as much of our membership and council as possible in that process, depending on what we end up going with. But it could be door knocking, it could be focus groups, and it will most likely require us to get some help from the outside in terms of like volunteers and everything, which is also, I think it's important to try to get the member ambassador program activated in that too, so that we have members who are prepared and willing to help us in those types of outreach efforts.
Yeah, and the timeline is about 2 weeks, right? 2 to 3 weeks for this.
Well, I mean, I think that this would be an ongoing collection of information for the full pre-design phase, which is for a couple months, when I don't remember the calendar exactly.
I think it's so it's in 2 weeks, they're going to present back to us their conceptual idea of how to move forward. And then after that there's about a 6-week period where there's this iterative design process where they will be going out and seeking information from the community, in conjunction with the CIC. And I think one of the reasons we were so excited about Mass is their community design input is their thing. They have a lot of really creative ideas. And as Kendall mentioned in her update of her committee, they've already met, they've already had that initial introduction. And so I think that will be an ongoing conversation, and together Mass and the CIC will design some of that programmatic stuff. In terms of the market study and that, yeah, we have to get on that. We have a meeting set up with them next week to go through our existing market study and our existing business plan as they are now, with a fine tooth comb. And then we'll see from there, how much more they really need to move forward and on what timeline.
Yeah, and I think it was maybe a similar monthly meeting or another weekly meeting where there was the talk of reaching out to the consultant that led the original 30-page market study to, because there's like consideration of market studies should be updated after 2 years or something like that. Has that been successful in reaching out to them, or have been open?
Yeah, I think, I haven't reached out to that consultancy. I did reach out on, we've been talking about reaching out to Fertile Ground because they did a much more robust market study than the typical co-op market study. The one we have is just very standard co-op, like the sort of the conventional co-op study. And it doesn't really address our community and its intricacies. It doesn't address the demographic makeup of the Midtown community where the co-op will be located. It sort of ignores that, you read it. So I did reach out to Fertile Ground today, to the person that did their market study, to see if we can just have a meeting with them. I think it's just a matter, it seems to be a matter of like, what we can do right now is just supplement the one we have, adding data. And then yes, we can ask G2G to update what we have in terms of, she taps into a co-op database and looks at sort of like, what are the market trends from the past year and how does that relate to the demographics of the city of Kingston? So we can update all that information. We haven't taken that step. I think we're not super excited to go that route. I think it would be more interesting to supplement the data we have based on the information we learned from Fertile Ground and how they approach this. Like that's the first step.
Or what the idea was that community integration would through the community outreach events inform that market study, right? That was the original.
Yeah, and that's still what we're gonna need. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
still gonna need that. Yeah.
Cool. The last question I have, it's to leadership models, and this is pretty much after today. There was a call that a peer-to-peer call with fellow startups, co-op startups, JQ of FCI, the conversation, Lindsay, you were there, about leadership models and how can shared leadership models and how now this is not a topic, this is not a new topic that we as a co-op are thinking about entertaining. Other co-ops in the past or similarly right now are doing that. One thing that stuck out with JQ's comment that I know that they mentioned before is that this is because this is not a new conversation, wanting to explore different leadership forms that in the practical application of the opening of the store, those wanting to do that, they've reverted back to the, let's call it the traditional GM, one person hiring process. So and this is from a seasoned consultant of the co-op world, Nina, part of that, and whoever else is in the store leadership group, is how, while I am in favor, with the trend in the group, the feeling, the sentiment to explore new creative opportunities, their reason to be part of this council is how do you have that sort of sense in mind of, or maybe, I don't know what's the term, but it's like, just have that sentiment, like, yeah, practical, other clubs have tried this, explore this, but they've, reverted back to one. And also, like, what's the timeline of this exploration? Like after a month, 2 months, 3 months? So those two things I wanted to get a sense of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have been in close contact with JQ about this, and we heard her feedback, like even before diving into this project. I think that we are by no means committed to saying we're going to take on a different alternative leadership model. We just felt like we had to do more of our own due diligence in exploring what that looks like, and if something failed, like why it failed, and if people are still exploring other models, like what we can learn from them. And I feel like there's a lot of ways, like, there's so many options across the spectrum. Like it could look like tweaking the GM model a little bit, or it could look like taking a different model someone else tried and trying something slightly different. And we do have a lot of, our committee has a lot of views represented, including people who are like ready to jump into shared leadership versus folks who are very skeptical and, want to really critically interrogate anything before we make any kind of recommendation towards it. So all of that is to say, we are just here to learn and to see like what we can share with the council, and then we'll make some recommendations based on that. The timeline is going to be fairly tight. We're planning to, let me actually just pull up the work plan, but it's basically the research is going to happen between now and late August. So it's like a little over a month. We're a little bit into it already. And we will be planning to report back by then.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks,
Mhm.
everyone. That's the questions I have.
Okay. If there are no other questions now, feel free to send any questions you may have to council@kingstonfoodcoop.com. And thank you for coming.
Wait, Kendall, hold on. Sorry, I did come up with a question. Sonia, our consultant, this is 1 month in, right? Apparently, approximately. Sonia, if you're there, if there's anything you want to share, working with the group this 1 month, you're coming in at a key moment. Anything you want to share?
It's been really wonderful working with the team. It's so great to be amongst an organization that is incredibly passionate about not just food access, but really cares about this community that I was born into. So we've never had like this anything in my entire life, and I'm over 30. So it's really really nice to be working with all of you. And the community has been so receptive at the summer party. It was just really wonderful to see all those faces. It's been so long since we've really been able to get anything done. The vendors were wonderful people. Everybody, there was just an incredible sense of community. So I just wanted to thank the team so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sonia. It's been great to have you. It's been really awesome to have Sonia. We've already put a lot of work into looking into our processes and just structure as an organization, making sure everything's locked in, and she's been super helpful with that. Yeah, so just want to make sure there are no other questions here on the table. I know we have one member with us. Mark, if there's anything you wanted to ask, please feel free to do so. But if not, please feel free to send your questions afterwards by emailing the council. So thank you everyone who's watching and who came. Thank you, Mark, for coming. And we are now going to move into our executive session. So any non-council members can go. Thank you. Have a good night. All right. Is Sonia supposed to say or?